please direct your attention to the video.
He's such a devoted person. He's such a hardworking person. And he's such a moral person. He always wants to do what's right.
He was always one of the smartest guys in the class, to be honest with you.
I think the quality that I admire most about Tim is the way he approaches people.
I'd say his biggest attribute is his passion. He's really got a passion for what he's doing, and it's so evident when you just talk to him. And that just kind of flows through the organization.
Tim Schroeder is one of a kind.
At Upspring, we believe that the best way to support kids that are experiencing homelessness is by keeping them connected to their education. We do that through our programs that include Upspring Summer 360, Upspring After School, and the Upspring Resource Collaborative.
Hey folks, I'm Andy Brunsman. For the past 9 years, I've had the privilege of being the executive director of Be Concerned, the People's Pantry here in Northern Kentucky. We've survived for 55 years off of the benevolence of a viewer like you, and friends and people in the community that have helped us make our mission true.
We met Sam Quinones in Kentucky, the epicenter of America's latest, most dangerous battle with addiction.
You say there's no such thing as recreational drug use anymore. What does that mean?
That means that the drugs on the street today are more dangerous, deadly, prevalent, and disguised than ever before.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 24th Metropolitan Award Dinner. Here is your host, Metropolitan Club President, Doug Bolton.
Welcome, welcome everyone. So excited to see so many people here. Thanks to the Kentucky Symphony Orchestra for helping with our reception and the entertainment and helping to get you a little bit quiet. We hope that you pull out your phones and check in on Facebook, like us on LinkedIn, take a great photo this evening, post it on Instagram. You can find us at Met Club Cov and use the hashtag Community Matters, because it truly does matter to the Metropolitan Club. Back to Mike's comment about Tim being one of a kind. It's been a true pleasure working with Tim and all of you in building this program, honoring Tim, but also building on the legacy of grant making in this community by the Metropolitan Club. That legacy began by Bill Butler, Dan Fay, 32 years ago. This is the 24th Metropolitan Award Dinner, where we have honored a community leader and raised significant funding for nonprofits. Will you help me? Bill, will you please stand? Julie and Chuck Shepper, will you please stand? And Kay Geiger. Those are four of our past recipients who are here this evening. Let's give them a big round of applause. As you know, our efforts tonight benefit these three charities, Life Learning Center, Be Concerned, and Upspring. We'll learn a little bit more about them in just a little bit. But again, a big thanks to all of our sponsors tonight, CTI, the Christ Hospital, St. Elizabeth Healthcare, our presenting sponsor, Corporex, our reception sponsor, RSM, our corporate sponsors, Bexian, First Financial Bank, Horan, Pomeroy, and Jack and Kit Overbeck. Thank you so much. Our entertainment sponsors tonight, Cintas, Holland, PNC Bank, State Farm, Michael and Cindy Kaysen, and the Western and Southern Financial Group. And then we have a host of patron sponsors, many of your organizations who stepped up and obviously helping us with this program. And then finally, a big thanks to Prestige AV and Creative Services for helping us make this evening's program a little more enjoyable. So now, please welcome to the stage Karen Finan, a member of the Metropolitan Board of Governors, who agreed to serve as this year's event chair. Please, a warm welcome for Karen.
Thank you, Doug, and thanks to all of you for your attendance here, one of the largest Metropolitan Award dinners in our history. As we met to consider who to honor, our number one choice was a leader who has made a huge difference in our regional and economy, and whose efforts will continue to build a better region. We assembled a committee whose work was certainly worthwhile as a result of our honoree. We will hear many deserved accolades tonight, but Tim, I do want to take a moment to say thank you and congratulate you for everything that you've done on behalf of Northern Kentucky and this region, from the growth of CTI, an international company in Covington, to the origination of the life science labs at the One NKY Center, now under construction. You have truly created a legacy for our community. And I do want to recognize the work of our committee. So will our committee members please stand? We have Andy Brunsman, Katie Jensen, Alicia Webb-Edgington, Nick Finan, Carrie Chandler, Brendan Call, Liz Corbett, and Dorothy Eyre. Margaret Van Gils was unable to join us this evening, but she certainly made a significant impact on our efforts. I also want to call out the leadership of Doug Bolton, president of the Met Club. Doug's dogged pursuit of prospects and contributions in large part drove us to our end goal. We are lucky to have him here at the Met Club and look forward to his continued leadership. Will you help me in giving all of them a round of applause for their efforts? And now the big reveal, and Kay, this was not a competition, but I'm just a little competitive. We are excited to announce that we have raised the second largest amount effort. Kay Geiger was number one. We tried. We fell just a little bit short of your record, and I think the video will reveal the number. 165. So with that, I will turn it back over to Doug, and we'll get going with the program.
Thank you, Karen. Tim truly is one of a kind. Not many people can say that they'll be spending time with their team in Paris on a Friday, and then they fly home to take their 88-year-old mother to church on Saturday. That comment was made by Tim on some of the video. Unfortunately, it got cut from the final production, but it led us to ask his 88-year-old mother if she would give tonight's invocation. So, will you help us?
Lord, thank you for allowing us to gather this evening to recognize and support those worthy charity organizations. We are grateful for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us and for the opportunity to give back to those making such a positive impact on people's lives. We thank you for the wonderful meal we are about to eat, for those who took the time to prepare it. Please keep everyone healthy and safe, both here and around the world, as we move through these very uncertain times. Lastly, we are very grateful to God that He has blessed us with Tim being in our family. Amen.
Thank you, Kay. And as you begin dinner, enjoy these messages from our beneficiaries Be Concerned and Upspring. We'll hear from Life Learning Center as we come out of dinner. And again, the Kentucky Symphony Orchestra will continue to entertain us. Bon appetit.
Because you guys are young people right now, but as you get older, the more stressful events in your life are going to continue to rise. And you have to know how to manage your stress. There's about 8,000 children experiencing homelessness in the Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky areas, and we serve about 4,000 of those students.
Most of them are in shelters or sleeping in cars. They're doubled up with family members. A lot of people are bouncing from house to house between their aunt and their grandma and a hotel and a friend, and they're typically moving about 7 or 8 times a year without any sort of stable housing. And that can really affect their education because, how are you supposed to remember to turn in your math homework if you don't know where you're sleeping tonight?
Life without Upspring for these students would be feeling like they don't have that one caring adult that's going to consistently be there for them every day, that they know that they can trust, that they know that's there for their best interest, that is going to do everything in their power to make a difference in their life and make an impact.
Hey folks, I'm Andy Brunsman. For the past 9 years, I've had the privilege of being the executive director of Be Concerned, the People's Pantry here in Northern Kentucky. We've got a bunch of things to celebrate here, looking at our 55th anniversary of our Christmas store, which will happen in December of 2022, as well as our 25th anniversary of our golf outing that will happen in 2023 in September. Things have been tough here at the food pantry over the past few years, obviously, as folks would guess. A global pandemic, a worldwide shutdown almost, and more families turning for help than ever before. And most recently, it's a little harder to do with inflation at the grocery store and the gas pump. But we've survived for 55 years off of the benevolence of a viewer like you, and friends and people in the community that have helped us make our mission true. But aside from being around for a long time, we also have the claim to fame of being one of the largest and longest operating free food pantries in Northern Kentucky. We're serving about 1,500 families a month between our two sites in Erlanger and Covington, and we also have an on-campus food pantry at Mount St. Joseph University in Delhi. On top of the food that we provide, Be Concerned's mission is to really focus on helping Northern Kentuckians with the necessities for life. Food is terrific, but what do you do when the weather turns and you need warmer clothes? Well, we provide opportunities through our thrift stores through a voucher program to help families that have financial need for those non-food necessities for life. And at the end of the day, it's people helping people. So we are run by mostly volunteers at both of our sites. People volunteer in the food pantries, at the front desk, and the thrift store, and also go to pick up food for us. And now we could really use help more than ever with one of the 3 T's. And we hope that you encourage to provide one of those to us if you're able. Time, talent, and treasure. And the way you can find to give all those is pretty simple. BeConcerned.org will lead you the path to give any of the 3, 1 of the 3, 2 of the 3, or 3 of the 3. Thank you guys for your past support. And if I can answer any questions for you, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Welcome back, everyone. As you take those few bites of your dessert, we're going to begin our program. Let's watch this video from our friends at Life Learning Center.
This morning we are taking a look at the changing face of drug addiction in America and how some are trying to chart a path out of the darkness for hundreds of thousands still struggling. During the first year of the pandemic, more than 96,000 people died in America from drug overdoses. That is a 30% increase over the previous year and the largest in U.S. history. Much of that is due to the number of illegal synthetic drugs on the streets. The number has skyrocketed. Now, Sam Quinones, the man whose book Dreamland defined the opioid epidemic, is out with a new offering. It's called The Least of Us, and it's a wake-up call to a changing world.
My name is Sam. How you guys doing? I've written a story of how the whole opioid epidemic and how it went from pain pills to heroin. And now I've got writing another book about how that then morphed into fentanyl, methamphetamine as well.
Why did you feel like you had to continue with this subject?
Well, initially I didn't. Initially I was worn out. I also initially thought, what do you write after heroin?
We met Sam Quinones in Kentucky, just off the banks of the Ohio River. Perhaps more than any other place, the epicenter of America's latest, most dangerous battle with addiction.
You say there's no such thing as recreational drug use anymore. What does that mean?
That means that the drugs on the street today are more dangerous, deadly, prevalent, and disguised than ever before. Every time you do a line of cocaine at a party, which in the 80s, 70s, and 80s was like kind of you were rude to not do it. Now you don't know if that line of cocaine has fentanyl in it, which could very, very easily kill you. It happens all the time.
Fentanyl is the synthetic opioid that is 80 to 100 times more potent than morphine. It's being added by dealers to drugs everywhere. In recent years, fentanyl overdoses have killed actor Michael K. Williams, baseball player Tyler Skaggs, along with musicians Prince and Tom Petty, just to name a few.
No one is really prepared to use fentanyl. There's no such thing as a long-term user of fentanyl.
It's not just fentanyl. The production and use of all kinds of synthetic drugs has surged in the last 5 years, as drugs manufactured in illegal labs, especially in Mexico, begin to overtake plant-based products.
With enough chemicals, you can make those drugs in staggering supplies all year round. No seasons, no land. You don't need to worry about the sunlight or anything like that.
Quinones spent 10 years working as a reporter in Mexico, then worked for the Los Angeles Times before turning to books. His 2015 bestseller, Dreamland, was the definitive account of how pharmaceutical companies pushed painkillers like OxyContin. Heroin dealers followed in their wake. Now, Quinones is out with The Least of Us.
Who are the least of us?
There are people that are in need, that we all can be like them, given the right circumstances.
Or the wrong circumstances.
Or the wrong circumstances, sure.
The book focuses on potential solutions, including programs like the Life Learning Center in Covington, Kentucky. A building that once helped build prisons is now helping keep people out.
The bars of Alcatraz were made here?
Yes.
Alicia Webb Eddington is the president of Life Learning.
You don't like the term second chances.
No.
Or a second chance. Why?
Transformational change, transformational employment. All of us, we've had more than 2 chances in life. Every one of us. 2 chances? We're going to limit people to 2 chances? No. We're going to transform people.
You also learn some physical techniques for dealing with negative thoughts.
This is not a rehab facility. It's a place where addicts come to learn the skills to get jobs. There's even a clinic for free tattoo removal. We met Clayton Carmack, who spent years abusing drugs and behind bars.
Why is it so important for you to get these taken off?
I can't erase all the things I've done. I can't erase the felonies. They'll carry with me for the rest of my life. I'll always have those things. But being able to walk into a room with you guys one day and not have these tattoos that are going to try to tell my story for me, I'm really grateful.
This is an opportunity for us as a community to make a difference.
Webb Eddington is a former state trooper and sheriff's deputy who for years worked undercover narcotics. She no longer believes lock 'em up and throw away the key is the answer.
I get some chastisement from my fellow law enforcement officers, but I also get a great deal of support.
What do they say?
You know, Alicia, oh my God, have you gone soft on crime? I haven't gone soft on anything. I've gone smart on it.
One of the people who came here for help is Daniel Woods, a former golf pro who got addicted to pills after 3 knee surgeries and spent a total of 21 years in prison.
It's called DODD, deception, obtaining dangerous drugs, and one doctor could not prescribe enough for me. It became a part to where I just seeked out other doctors. Paper trail led up to me, and I know it sounds corny, but it saved my life.
Woods is now a life learning employee, counseling others.
If you didn't have this place, where would you be?
Well, I can tell you where I've been. I've been under bridges and been homeless, been scared to death. Where I would be at today would, I don't even want to think about it.
In the main hallway of life learning, there are pictures of the people who've walked through their doors. 667 this year alone.
If it was a drug that could make you feel different,
You were doing it?
I
You were
tried
doing
it.
Quinones visits places like Life Learning and the Kenton County Detention Center for insight on how to reframe our understanding of addiction and ways to treat it.
My whole life, I've been totally ignorant about the facts of what addiction really does to a human being.
Do you have any reason for hope right now?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty dour panorama, but I do believe that we are being shown a lesson as a country.
You're not done with this subject.
I always think I am, but you know, the thing is, what I realized during Dreamland is that what you're not, I thought I was writing about drugs and drug trafficking and drug addiction. No, I really believe you have an opportunity through this topic to write about America.
Thank you. Thank you, Alicia, for sharing that video with us. Tough issues, but through the Life Learning Center, Be Concerned, Upspring, we are helping people make a difference in this community with this event and your support. So take a deep breath. As Sam said, there is hope. There's a lot of light in this world, and we're about ready to watch a major piece of that light in this 11-minute package about our honoree. Before we cut to the video, though, I am really, really happy to announce that an anonymous donor took our challenge of beating Kay's fundraising, and so we have now raised, as a result of your efforts this evening, $179,000 to support those 3 organizations. So thank you, Tim, and let's watch the video.
What I admire most about him is I think this business world's littered with folks that take an either-or mentality, and I think it's good for us to be inspired by people that can be both good and excellent and win. So the whole idea that the nice guy, the good guy finishes last. Tim's proof that doesn't happen.
First of all, he's a very strong leader, a great guy, a guy that you can trust, a guy that you can depend on, and a leader that is dynamic. And he's built a company that's doing things that are incredible.
I think one of the qualities that I appreciate the most in Tim, and it's very hard to put into words, but it's the presence that he has. So I think that he walks into a room and he just brings the level of positivity up in the room. I mean, people want to be around him. He has the ability to, there might be 20 people in the room, but he'll be able to make everyone in that room feel important.
Tim earns respect of everybody that he comes in contact with, but he does it in a very really quiet, unassuming way, and so it's nothing overpowering. It's not being the loudest voice in the room at all.
If you ever think of Tim, and what I have always thought of him from the day I met him was he was always a teacher and a mentor. And he always looked to the future as he would look at a problem and say, what could we do to solve this problem? Or what's the opportunity here? But along the way, he would bring people with him. And I think that was one of my first gifts I ever gave to him, was this stone that said teacher. Because I just felt like he mentored so many people.
The way I describe it is, I say right place, right time. I've really had 3 stops along my career. The first was in the academic medicine world, where I was at University of Cincinnati and Cincinnati Children's. I happened to be there when the transplantation field was exploding, and was fortunate enough to, as a very junior faculty member, to become the head of research around transplantation at UC and at Children's, and I got to see the first heart transplants ever done here in the area, liver transplants, etc. Had a long dozen plus year career there that allowed me to work with some of the most fabulous, motivating, inspirational leaders I've ever been around, who happen to also be incredibly compassionate, caring individuals. Early in my career, I thought that was the way everybody was. I've come to learn later that maybe that's not the case, but it was really exceptional time to be really exposed to those people. That allowed me literally to do research all around the world, because the local research at UC and Children's is so highly regarded. It was then and it still is now, probably even higher today. I went from there to the biotech world, where I was a co-founder of a biotechnology company based in the Bay Area. And again, right place, right time. We were able to develop treatments and diagnostics for transplant patients, and ultimately the company did a public offering, got its first drug approved, and got to profitability. What I've come to appreciate is that doesn't happen very often, and again, I was probably a right time to be able to be a small part of that. And then from there, started CTI, which was almost a quarter century ago. And building on the 2 previous stops along my career, we are in a really unique situation where we get to work and partner with biotechnology, pharmaceutical, medical device companies to take their products from really concept, in some cases it's so early stage, all the way through to approval. And over the 24 plus years at CTI, we've been part of more than 170 drug approvals, and that's really the end goal of what we do.
Success is the only option. We will get there. We will figure it out. We're going to try to make the right decisions and have a positive impact on people, whether it's the patients, our employees, or our community. So those are really critical. And very often over the years, companies have come to try to buy us, as you would expect. And Tim said it wasn't, it was never always about the money. Very infrequently was about the money. As a matter of fact, people say we should have done a better job in that regard. It was more about what can we do to find a cure for patients, to treat patients? What can we do to have an impact on our team members, and what can we do to have an impact on the community?
Yeah, the way I like to frame CTI is very humble beginnings. Some of the biggest, most successful companies in the world talk about starting in a garage. Apple, Microsoft, Hewlett-Packard. We always say we can either one-up them or one-down them, but we started in a carriage house. It's a 170-year-old carriage house, I think, when we were there. It's still there up in Clifton, very close to Christ Hospital, but it leaked. Had a lot of charm and a lot of history, but it wasn't the most practical place. But that was our humble beginnings. Since then we've grown. We have associates now across the globe in approximately 70 countries. We have grown to be one of the 20 largest clinical research organizations in the world, and we work on behalf of more than 300 pharmaceutical, biotech, and medical device companies. And obviously we are anchored right here. The company started in Cincinnati and moved its corporate headquarters to Northern Kentucky about 7 years ago.
I feel like we're just beginning. Even though it's 25 years later, so we've seen the influx of some new biotech companies into the area. We've obviously seen, you're seeing the buildings go up around the corner that are just looking amazing. That's going to house, be as an incubator and house very young biotech companies. I think it's an attractive area because of all the reasons we felt it was attractive, because of the universities being in the center of the country, as well as being cost effective. Comparing this region to Boston, I would take this region any day.
When I joined CTI 20 years ago with Tim, moving from a publicly traded company, Kendall, to a privately held company with an entrepreneur like Tim, I sort of didn't know what to expect. A big difference between public sector and private sector. And quickly I learned that Tim's characteristics as a friend and the friend that I had in Tim Schroeder, and then the boss that I've had now for 20 years. He is who he is. He's consistent as the day is long in his behavior and his approach. He cares. He's an entrepreneur, right? He has passion. His work ethic is like no other. He's an excellent communicator with our company, with our colleagues at CTI. We consider CTI a family.
But I think his biggest impact is going to be raising the profile of our region as a hub for life sciences and biotechnology. You have the One NKY building that's going to be right next to their CT offices right here. That's going to have a wet lab in it. I think there's about $15 million being invested to create this magnetic effect, this flywheel effect around all the things that are happening in our region as it relates to life sciences and biotech. I think that's going to be Tim's biggest impact is, again, raising the profile through the work at CTI.
Yeah, I think Tim's greatest impact to the region is, I mean, he's got a greater vision than just running the company. His vision is to make the greater Cincinnati area almost a biotech hub. So we've brought other businesses in, he's made connections, economic development leaders in the area know him well. So we're trying to bring in additional business. It's connecting with the hospital systems locally. It's really making this region not just where CTI is located, but we want it to be a hub for clinical research. We want to be moving medicine forward here in the area.
This is a great place to build the business because, of course, you had Kendall and MedPace already here as established CROs, so we knew there was a talent pool there. We knew that we have the universities here to support us, so we thought that was a great idea. Plus, it was the middle of the country, and that would allow us to, look across country from clients, employees, etc. And he was adamant that this was his home, this was where he wanted to be, and this is where he wanted to build this business. And I do think that legacy was really important, and to build upon what Candace Kendall has already done, what August Tremble has already done. He wanted to build that and continue to build that. Coming to Covington was a no-brainer. It was really, as we looked around, the welcoming of the business community was just amazing. The location was great. This was really probably a place for growth, for youth, for the universities, as well as having clients come in from the airport.
Yeah, as a private company, we tend to look at things in decades rather than quarters. And so we are literally in our 25th year, and our discussions frame a lot about what do we want the company to be like over the next quarter century. And really the only non-negotiables are we want a sustainable organization that is rooted in its communities, both here locally and around the world. We want to continue to be part of moving medicine forward. I think what we're really optimistic about it, this really speaks, I think, to just the generation we're in, is I grew up in my career, and most of the medical advances were involving things like improving outcomes, making people live longer, making the quality a bit better, but it never was about curing diseases. We are at the precipice, and we're blessed, as an organization that we get to be part of treatments that are now curing diseases that were once incurable. And I think that's just at the beginning stages, where if we look at that over the next 10, 15, or even 25 years, I think that is going to be standard, and our children or our grandchildren are going to be the beneficiaries of that.
To present the award, please welcome to the stage the Chair of the Board of Governors and the Board of Directors of the Metropolitan Club, Dorothy Eyre.
Well, what a powerful and inspirational video we've just watched. As the chair of our volunteer Board of Governors and the chair of the fiduciary Board of Directors at the Metropolitan Club, I want to welcome all of you tonight to the Met Club and this very special occasion. Some of you are members and many of you aren't, but tonight you're seeing the Metropolitan Club at its very best. That is, it's living up to its vision and its mission and its three strategic pillars that guide what we do here at the Metropolitan Club. Those three pillars are business matters, belonging matters, and community matters. And while we try to live up to all three pillar areas every day, tonight you're taking part in our biggest Community Matters event of the year. For those of you who are not members of the Met Club, we're a unique club in this region. No one else around here is doing the kinds of things that we are doing. And maybe these values will actually resonate with you. And if they do, consider joining us and becoming a part of what we do, because with all of you in this room, we can do ever so much more. You would be supporting our efforts to make this a better place to live in the greater Cincinnati area. Now, about tonight. On a personal note, my past career was Associate Senior Vice President of Entrepreneurial Affairs and Technology Commercialization at the University of Cincinnati. And that provided me actually with the opportunity to intersect with CTI and with Tim Schroeder over a number of years. CTI, under the leadership of Tim Schroeder, was and still is quite the tremendous asset to UC and to so many of our companies and other organizations in this region. Their growth in the last almost 25 years has been phenomenal, and impressively, they aren't just about that business as you've been hearing. They've used their success to support the community here in so many ways. And it's interesting listening to all the wonderful things that you've just heard people say about Tim Schroeder, and the kind of person he actually is. I thought it was interesting tonight. Before we sat down to dinner, Tim came up to me and he said, "Dorothy, I don't know if you remember me." And I was kind of standing there getting ready to say the same thing because, I haven't seen him in a while, and I thought, well, that speaks to the kind of person he is, because he's the honoree today, and compared to him, I was kind of small fish in the water. And the fact that he would come up and say, "I don't know if you remember me," spoke volumes about the humility with which he has approached his role in the business and social community in our region. So with that in mind, I'm so proud that we're honoring Tim during my tenure as the board chair. Our region is so fortunate to have him, and I'm honored to be able to present him with the 24th, that's a lot of years, but the 24th Metropolitan Award. And, who took it? Tim, please come up. The microphone is yours.
Thank you.
How many people in the room get uncomfortable when they see a picture of themselves? Multiply that times 1,000, and that was me watching that video. It's humbling, incredible, beyond words, but thank you very much. A couple of, before I jump in to the brief talk, just a couple of comments. I'm not surprised at all, knowing the competitive friends and colleagues I have, that Doug, you probably should have set the bar higher, or Kay should have, and they would have beat that, so I'm not surprised, and I probably know the people behind that. And secondly, just a little correction, I may have misspoken. I don't take my mother to church. She goes there on her own and meets me and makes sure that I'm there on time, so. Many years ago, when I was a very junior faculty member at the University of Cincinnati, and my daughter will roll her eyes because I start sometimes my talks this way, I had a big talk, at least I thought it was, at a big international medical conference. I went to my mentor and I said, "What's the key to public speaking?" And he said, "Be brief." And I said, "But I have really important stuff to talk about." And he said, "Well, then be funny." And I said, "Well, I'm not funny." And he said, "Then you don't belong talking." So I'll be brief. The theme of my comments this evening fall into three categories: gratitude, humility, and optimism. First of all, I'd like to thank Doug, the Metropolitan Club board, including Dorothy as the chairperson and Karen Finan as the event chair, as well as all the Met staff. We have the luxury of being in this building virtually every day, so we get to see how hard they work and how passionate they are about being part of the club, and they're terrific. I'd also like to thank each of you for being here tonight and supporting these three important organizations: Be Concerned, Upspring, and the Life Learning Center. If those videos don't, if they don't motivate you to make you, one, feel proud about what's going on in this community, and two, the needs that are there and how it's our obligation, I think, and moral responsibilities to support them, but we're doing some really remarkable things here. These groups focus their important work on the marginalized individuals of society, and they do it tirelessly, they do it with passion, they do it with purpose, and I could not be happier that we are supporting them with your generosity tonight, and I'm glad to hear that we've achieved and succeeded beyond the target that was set. Secondly, I want to say how grateful I am to all of you for being here tonight. I'd like to thank my family and friends for taking time away from their busy schedules to celebrate this with me. From the very beginning, our parents loved, supported, and believed in my two sisters, my brother, and me, offering motivation, support, inspiration, and being role models for us. I'm sure that wasn't easy, at least in my case, along the way. You can certainly ask my mom and siblings about that, who hopefully won't tell too many stories after the event's over tonight. Our father provided the work ethic model. He was the entrepreneur of the family. And as you heard earlier, my mother, both the philanthropic and the spiritual influence came from her then and still reverberates today. I'd also like to thank my wife of 39 years, Lisa, who's here, my 5 children, Allison, Joe, Jamie, John, and Josh, who are here. They have made countless sacrifices throughout my career to support it in so many ways, and the crazy lifestyles that go along with it. None of what's been accomplished would have been possible without each of you. Finally, I'd like to thank and acknowledge the CTI team, many of whom are here this evening, with special mention to the executives, some of which you heard their comments in the video, and it's always been about we, not me. So it's a bit embarrassing to hear that the success derives from me, because that's clearly not the case. Lynn, Maria, Brian, Joan, Pat, Kevin, goes without saying we would not be where we are today without each of you, especially Lynn as co-founder, who shared a dream 25 years ago that we could build a company that would make a difference in moving medicine forward. Kevin, who had to operationalize that dream over 20 years, can't thank enough. And obviously, me as the token leader of the organization, I've been blessed to be surrounded with so many passionate, talented individuals. Moving to humility, when I reflect on the previous honorees of the Metropolitan Award, I'm humbled to be standing here tonight. Last year's recipient, Candace McGraw, prior year honorees and friends like Julian Chuck Shepper, Bob Castellini, Kay Geiger, Bill Keating, George Vincent, and my friend Bill Butler. These individuals are a who's who of the community. They and their families and their organizations have positively shaped who we are and what we do here in so many, many ways. To even be mentioned with this group and other previous honorees is just crazy to me, beyond belief. Finally, the last topic just to speak on briefly is optimism. I'm a product of this region. Jesuit educated at St. Xavier High School and Xavier University. I always tell people I was a slow learner. My parents thought I needed 8 years of Jesuit education instead of 4. I had an academic medical research career, as you heard, at the University of Cincinnati and Cincinnati Children's. Remarkable opportunities, as the video went into. And it's interesting, we sometimes take for granted what we have here in this community. We have been at the forefront of medical advances for decades and decades, from the Sabin polio vaccine that was developed here to the first heart-lung machine that was pioneered here, followed by cutting-edge treatments for stroke patients, neonatal newborn lung therapies, and most recently during the COVID pandemic. This organization, this community was at the forefront of developing vaccines, treatments, and diagnostics that literally saved thousands of lives. And many of those organizations and leaders are actually here this evening. But despite this rich history of the region, for the sake of our children, our grandchildren, and future generations, we can't rest on our laurels. We remain committed to moving forward with some remarkable things here, from the Xavier University Medical School, led by Dr. Hanich, to the expanded mental health services that started under Michael Fisher's leadership at Cincinnati Children's, to the moonshot cancer research being done at UC under Bill Barrett and at St. E's under Doug Flora, to the groundbreaking cardiac care that's provided at Christ Hospital under Debbie Hayes' leadership, to the leading maternity experiences that we have at Good Sam and TriHealth, which we got to experience this week with our 5th grandchild being born. And finally, the critical education that we need in the healthcare space at places like Mount St. Joe under Dr. Williams and at Northern Kentucky University right in our backyard here with Dr. Short Thompson. We're really, truly blessed in this region. My week started this week, like a lot of them do, an early flight to Boston. Thank you, Candace McGraw, for the direct flights. To speak with a Korean biotechnology company who is developing a cell therapy to prevent osteoarthritis of the knee. Looking around the demographics of this room, we probably have some candidates. I got off the plane, I walked through Logan Airport, where I saw a large sign, any of you have been there, the sign's been there for a long time, for the Kennedy Museum, with John Kennedy's famous quote about going to the moon. I didn't remember this in the past, but next to that was an advertisement that had Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" quote on it. Now, I had limited speech after a late Bengal win and an early flight, but my attention was grabbed by these two historic quotes. To paraphrase Kennedy, we do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. And the time it took to build CTI, 25 years, to the point we are today, the city of Cambridge, Massachusetts, which is where our meeting was held on Monday, went from being nobody in the biotechnology space to being the leading biotechnology location in the world, where venture capital and biotechnology has anchored hundreds and hundreds of companies. I ask you, why can't that happen here? We have all the ingredients. My dream, my vision, my goal, that when CTI celebrates its 50th anniversary, I likely won't be here, and I certainly wouldn't be standing up here talking in front of a group, but that the life science incubator that you heard talked about in the video and by some of the others, which is emerging from the ground next door, that has turned this region into the next Cambridge, Massachusetts. We will have launched many biotechnology companies and pharmaceutical companies like our friends at Bexion Pharmaceuticals down the street. We will have developed cures for diseases like diabetes, dementia, and cancer right here in the region. I am very optimistic that we have everything we need to do that. So again, thank you for this award tonight, and thank you all for being here.
So thank you, Tim, and we're here because of Bill Butler dreaming, and it's great, Tim, to hear you dream. We can live up to those dreams. You know, Xavier University is a huge passion of Tim's, and happy to have Greg Christopher, the athletic director of Xavier University, to close us out with a few final words. Greg?
Good evening. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. I fully understand you've heard from so many inspiring people. You've heard from Tim, the honoree himself. So I fully understand that I am the only thing that stands between you getting in your cars and getting home and getting your pajamas on. So to use Tim's words, I will be brief. You can't talk about Tim and not talk about his leadership and all that he brings to Xavier University. He talked about relationships and the connections he has, all the universities in this area. He has season tickets at Xavier. But three things really come to mind when you think about Tim and what he's brought to the university. His leadership. He has been on our board now for nearly a decade, and he referenced the College of Medicine that has been started by Xavier University. Tim is really the leader behind that, the tip of the spear of that. His generosity, the generosity that Tim and Lisa have for Xavier University is incredible. Some of it very big and very public. A lot of it is also behind the scenes and anonymous, but they simply pay it forward. And then finally, the mentorship. Still involved with our students every week, and I speak for Gary Massa, Dr. Hanich, and myself, a mentor to us personally. So Tim, on behalf of Xavier, on behalf of President Hanich, Gary, myself, congratulations. Thank you for all that you do for Xavier University.
So we would love for you to stick around, have another drink. Both bars will be open. As you enter or as you leave the garage, if you go to the east end of the garage, the gates will be up so you can exit, although all of you have hopefully validated your parking. If you have not done that, please do so. And thank you again to all of the fabulous sponsors here. Thank you for getting us to $179,000 to benefit Life Learning Center, Be Concerned, and Upspring and Kentucky Symphony Orchestra. Will you please take us out of the session here with the Xavier Fight Song? Have a good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here.